Hello everybody, so I wanted to do something and well, I watched 3 Brawl Stars tier list videos that had Clancy in them to make sure I covered all of them, and I gave them a rank based on where they came. So for example, here, S tier 5 points, A tier 4 points, B tier 3 points, C tier 2 points, D tier 1 point, F tier no points. Then I added them all up, found the average, and let's see who goes where. 8-bit, we're just going to do them in the order they are now. He got 3s across the board, which gets him a solid B tier. Then we have Amber, and Amber was really high up, got an A tier. Next we have Ash, and Ash not as good, with a 2, a 1 and a 1, gets into D tier. However, Barley was a lot better, as Barley got a 4, 4 and 3, which also landed him in A tier with Amber. Then we have B with a 3, 3 and 2, sadly goes into C tier, and Belle, next up on our list, gets a 4, 3, 4, which lands her in A tier. Then we have Bubble Gum Girl, as I call her, and she got a quite good score here and got into B tier. Next up with Bonnie. Bonnie is sadly lower down on the list with a 1, 0 and 1, putting herself into D tier. And joining her with a perfect 1, 1, 1 is also Bo. Now we have Brock with a 3, 1 and 2, which gets him in C tier. He is quite a good brawler, but sadly most people don't see him as good as I think he deserves. Next up with Bull, which is quite the opposite. He deserves to be further down in my opinion. Remember, this is not really my opinion. Some parts will be my opinion, but other parts not. And Bull got a 2, 2 and 1, which somehow ended up in C tier. Then we have Buzz, who got perfect 4s gaming A tier. Next we have Byron, and Byron also did really well, 4, 4, 5, also gets him into A tier. Then we have Carl. Carl also did decently, but not as I'd hope him to do, because I really like playing Carl. He's a good brawler under my opinion, but sadly he got a 2, 3, 3, which ended him in B tier. Then we have Colette with a 4, 5, 5. She is our first S tier brawler. However, same can't be said about Colt. Even though, in my opinion, I think he's a really good brawler, he got 3s across the board, which lands him in B tier. Then we have our friend Crow, who did quite good, quite respected, a good score there with a 4, 4 and a 2. Sadly, it is not good enough as it lands him in C tier. Then we have our first F tier brawler with 0, 0, 0, Daryl. I'm sorry, Daryl. And Edgar with quite a surprise, only landing in C tier as well. Quite a big shock to me. Actually, wait. Let me find Crow again. 4, 4, 2, 4, 3, 3, which means he actually gets in B tier, not C tier. That's just me being bad at counting. Next up is Ems, and Ems got a 3, 3, 2, which also lands her in B tier. Eve, however, 3, 1, 2, which gets her into C tier. Next up we have Fang, 3, 2, 2, also C tier brawler, and our first perfect scored brawler with 3 others, actually no, 4 others in today's video, is Frank with 5, 5 and 5. But, however, Gale didn't do as good, but still did really good, as he is landing himself not in B tier, but A tier with 444. Gene, however, did not do as good, shall we say, as Gene got... Hold up a second. Gene got a total of C, 2 points overall, which is honestly quite a decent score. So,
Going up to Louise's on Wednesday.
Next up, Griff. Griff, in my opinion, is a really good brawler. Can really play off the plays you need him to. But people didn't think him as good as I thought him be, and he's in B tier. However, biggest upset for me because I really like Grom, and he's in D tier. Next we have Jackie. With a 3, 3, and 2, she lands herself somehow in B tier, which I really hate. However, Janet with an 010 lands in the F of the tiers. Now we go up to Jesse with 4, 4, and 4, landing in A tier. However, Leon, if I can find him on my epic list of epicness. Oh wait, sorry, no. Gene is 9 C tier. Instead he got 4, 4, 4, which has him in A tier. However, Leon, if he appears on my list, there he is, 2, 2, 3, which lands him in C tier. And Lou also doesn't do as good, but still gets a respectable B tier. Now, moving on to Max, who got a 4, 5, and 5, which lands her in S tier. And Dynamite, who in my opinion is a very good brawler, very annoying to play against, especially in some situations, did not get as good of a score, but still did decent with a 3, 3, and 2, land in B tier. Remember guys, this isn't me ranking technically. I'm just putting them into the ultimate tier list, where 3 tier lists are combined into one big one. Don't blame me, blame the original people who made them. I will put the links of those videos down below, hopefully, so you can watch them as well. However, Mortis is the next one with a 1, 2, 1, lands in D tier. I can understand this, he isn't the best brawler. However, Mr. P 101 also going in D tier. I thought he was a bit better, but clearly wrong. And with a 3, 1, 3, lands herself Nanny in C tier. Really good brawler in my opinion, so I definitely think he deserves to be up there. Next up we have Nita in A tier. Really good, Super's really good, effective on pretty much almost any game mode. Heist really good, Brawl Ball really good, etc. Then we have Otis. Otis, not as good, really. With a 3, 1, 2, lands in C tier. Next up we have Pam. Pam, with the 3, 3, 2, gets into B tier. Honestly, I respect this. Pam is quite a good brawler. However, Penny, 011, gets in D tier barely. And next up we have Piper. And Piper gets a 4, 4, and 4, which lands her in A tier. Respectable place in my opinion. And Poco, our healing friend, who always heals us when we need it, gets himself a score of... if he appears on my list again, this is just like the Gene situation. 3, 2, 3, which lands him into B tier, which is honestly quite good for him. Then we have El Primo, who gets a 202, which sadly wastes him into D tier. However, there's really good news about Rico, as Rico is one of the better brawlers, and he does quite well in this list with a 4-5-4 into A tier. Now, Rosa doesn't do as good with a 3-4-3 into B tier. Next up, we have Ruffs. It gets a perfect 3-3-3, landing in B tier. And then we have Sandy, who does really, really good, but at the end falls off with a 5-4-4, sadly landing him in A tier. Sorry if I called him or her. I don't know his gender really. I get confused between him and Max. Next up is Shelly, and Shelly does quite well as well, landing herself into B tier. Then we have Showgirl Lola. If you didn't get the reference, I'm sorry. She gets a 3-0-3, which puts her into C tier. Then we have our next perfect score with Meg. She is real good brawler after the rework, so make sure to unlock her and play her as much as possible. Then we have our friend Spike, who gets a 3-3-2 and lands into B tier. Then we have Sprout with a 2-4-3 and lands himself into B tier as well, joining him. However, Squeak gets a 101 into D tier. I thought it was much better, but clearly people don't really think so. Which is quite sad because I think he is a good brawler. But this is not really my decision, so I really can't argue. Next we have Stu with a 3-2-3, going into B tier, and Power Surge with a 3-4-4, going into A tier. Next up we have Tara, who sadly ended up in D tier as well. Not doing the best. Then we have everyone's least favourite brawler, I hope so, Tick, who gets into B tier, sadly. Then we have Gus, who, even though at the bottom, he is not in F tier, goes into D tier. Next up is Sam, and Sam gets a 3-1-2, which lands him into C tier. Then we go up to Buster, and Buster gets perfect 4s, landing himself in A tier. Then we have Chester with a 4-3-3, ending in B tier, and Gray teleporting his way up to B tier as well. Next we have Mandy with a 3-5-3, landing herself in A tier. I was as shocked as you guys. And 4-3-4, also up there, is RT. Next up we have Willow, and Willow is honestly a decent brawler in my opinion. She can be really good, but she can also be really weak. With a 3-1-2, she lands herself into C tier. Hank. Sadly, he gets into D tier. Somehow, yes, he's gotten into D tier. I honestly don't know how. And somehow in there is Maisie. I think she's much better, but clearly people don't think she is. So I'm just going to leave her there. Next up is Cordelius, who, despite his efforts, gets only into our A tier today. And Doug, such a good brawler in my opinion, can really affect the team. Gets nil a point overall, 0-0-0, and ends with an F. Next, we have Pearl, or as I like to call her, Cookie. And, well, Cookie here got a 2-3-3, landing herself into B tier. Our B tier is very stacked, by the way. Next, we have Mr. Train, aka Truck, who also gets into B tier, which is surprising, to say the least, in my opinion. However, we go up to Charlie, who gets a 434, landing in A tier. Miko. I hate Mikos. However, with all due respect, he gets into C tier. And with another perfect score, we welcome Kit into S tier. And Larry with a 444 goes into A tier. Angelo also gets into S tier with a 455. And Melody also gets in with a 455. Lily, as well as Berry, get into S tier with perfect scores. Frank, Meg, Kit, Berry, Lily all get perfect scores here. And also going up with them is Draco with a 455. Now finally, the brawler that hasn't come out yet, but I'm still going to talk about it anyway, Clancy. I do not have access to play him, but in my opinion he looks really good. He looks like he can deal a lot of damage, and with all due respect, he goes into A tier. Thank you everybody for watching today's video, and I just want to say I had no effect on this tier list at all. As I said, I have no effect on it. None of this was me. So if you have anyone to blame the original content creators. Thank you guys for watching. And well, I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Goodbye.